Greetings, friends. I'm Marc David, founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating. I am here today with Joe Bernstein, and we're going to be talking about Joe's life as an eating psychology coach, as a professional. Joe, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks, Mark. I'm glad to be here.
Yay. So, for those of you tuning in, Joe is a graduate of our training, the Eating Psychology Coach Certification Training. So, you must have woken up one day, one morning, and pushed the button and said, okay, I'm going to do this. What possessed you to make that decision? What led up to that? Where were you at in your life, and why?
Great question. I'll spare the whole story, but I grew up with a lot of challenges around weight and body. I still have some, right? But I was obese. I lost a bunch of weight. And right when I had hit like a number I was really excited about, I lost about 150 pounds. I was feeling great for the first time in my life. I was under 200 pounds as an adult. I heard you on a podcast, and I immediately signed up for Transform Your Relationship with Food and learned about the Institute. That was mid-2014. Mm-hmm. At that moment, I got excited about the idea because I saw that you also had the professional training. I knew I had a 13-year career as a retail manager. I knew I wanted to change. I knew it was going to be about empowering others and helping people grow in life. And I didn't know what. And I remember when I first heard about what you did in the institution, it was like, oh, this is amazing. This has got to be. I remember taking it to my men's group, and they were all excited for me. And so I did the training. And I really believe that Transform Your Relationship with Food transformed my relationship with food and body. And it's probably the reason that I've had a much more peaceful relationship and been able to keep weight off for the most part. Then, fast forward a little bit, things got really challenging in my career. I was successful, but I'd lost a lot of passion for what I was doing. And with me, when the passion's not there, the performance isn't there, bricks started to fall apart from the castle I had built. And I knew it was time for a change. So made a leap, started doing some coaching work around wellness and around mindset. Once I had about 100 some odd pro bono hours under my belt, started getting some paying clients. You guys were enrolling for the Institute's program, and I said, I love doing this. I am so passionate about the content that you put out and that Emily puts out, and I just decided I have to follow my passion. And so I signed up. I was, a little cautious around money at the time because it was just the very beginning of real income. But I did it, and I was really excited. So that's kind of like the mini version of the story.
Wow.
Yeah.
So everything in so many ways started with your personal journey with food, with your personal journey with your own body. When you initially lost, you said a bunch of weight. How? What did you do?
This was what was so gratifying about doing Transform Your Relationship with Food and honestly, reverse engineer my weight loss. It had a lot to do with what you teach. And then when I found your work, I was like, oh, it makes sense, right? So a lot of it was just growing up. I'm divorced, but in the marriage that I was in, my ex was like really into the environment. She was really into food and cooking and outdoors and travel. And I started to I was so I was really willing to compromise a lot, which didn't make the relationship great, but I was malleable. I was really interested in those interests that she had. So I learned that those things were things I was passionate about. So if, I was walking more often, I got rid of my commute. I had like a 55-mile commute, and I ended that, which had a big impact on my life and my health and my weight and how I felt, how much time I had. So really, it was not a lot about dieting. It was about upgrading my quality of food, actually getting kind of foodie and really passionate. So I went from like Big Macs to, cooking my own porterhouse on a grill from a local farmer that I knew where I could go and see where the food was being raised and how it was being raised. So actually really aligning with quality food. I was eating better. I was losing weight. I was moving a little more. Actually, I lost the first 80 or 90 pounds. The only exercise I did was walking a couple times a day.
Love it.
So it was really about It was really about growing into life a little bit. And then I lost the rest after we separated. And I was at this low point, and I woke up to all these possibilities. And when I chose the possibilities of, learning to date for the first time in an empowered way, and I chose the possibilities of maybe a career transition, I went into this like upward spiral. And that year, I got into working out a little bit more, and I started living life with more passion and more energy. And I took off all these limits and possibilities that I had for 31 years, and another 50 dropped. So, I could tell you the tactics and the strategy, but really it wasn't a lot of dieting. It was just like, I'm going to eat better, and I'm going to enjoy life, and I'm going to enjoy pleasure and grow up as a man.
Well, powerful story. You're reminding me of a couple of things. One of them is, it's kind of one of the principles that we practice, which is, so often people think, well, when I lose the weight, when I have this body, then all these great things are going to happen, and then I'm going to be this different person. And you just reversed engineered it, as you said, and you started being that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really. I didn't think.
I remember when I was in my 20s, I was really fascinated with why most people who lost weight gained it back. And, this was back before the days of the internet, and I would spend hours in a couple of different university libraries just kind of digging through all the research. And one day I found a study that was basically saying that, hey, it's around 98, 99% of people who are losing weight are gaining it back. And I always wondered about that other 1%. And then finally I found something about the 1%. And this one study said, well, the only thing we could find in common with people who lose weight and keep it off, the only thing they could find in common was that they had a life change of some nature. A marriage, a divorce, a separation, a new job, getting rid of a job, a spiritual realization, whatever it was something that person considered a life change. And I think of life change, I think of story change, and you just described a life change and just a change in your whole story.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen the same thing. I know a handful of people who've lost 80, 100, 150 pounds as well, and it's always the same thing. You disconnected from, or took on new spiritual beliefs, or they moved to a new city, in that relationship where they could be supported even at their current weight. It's always that way.
Yeah. So
always. So
tell us what your professional life looks like these days. How do you practice?
Yeah. What a big question.
Right?
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk a little about logistics. So I practice mostly at home. I do not have an office. I practice out of the room I'm in right now. So most of my clients do some that are just phone, depending on their situation. And then I have a small handful locally that I meet in person. My client load is anywhere from when things are going well, somewhere in the 10 to 15 range.
Per week?
Per week, total. I do clients 3 times a week. I like to have what I call an integration week. That's partly for them, partly for us, so we don't create a codependency, and partly for my lifestyle. So I can go, hey, you know what? There's some space in here. I can take a couple of days off. I can look ahead of my calendar and go, okay, 3rd week, clients, we're going to go on a little trip, or I'll take a staycation. That's the vision, at least. I'm working towards that. So, yeah, that's it. I see clients Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Every once in a while, I'll see a Thursday and Friday client. Usually it's a reschedule. And I make Thursday and Friday all about business development, events and network creation, and just whatever I'm into at the time to help me grow and find the people that need my support.
What kind of people show up to your practice? What are their challenges? What are their challenges? What are their concerns?
Yeah. I follow very non-traditional processes for my practice. There's a lot out there about how you have to really micro niche, right? I've tried a lot of niches and just sucks. don't thrive when I put myself in a box or under a label. So I have clients that they're like business clients. They realize that they want to grow their mindset, their values, and they want to overcome some fear to increase. I have clients that are kind of life coaching clients, and then probably about half of my clients are more in the food and health and wellness realm. Even the clients I'm not helping with food and body, usually they have a connection to challenges with food and body. They identify with my story one way or another. So I have clients who used to be obese and lost the weight like me, and they're just like, I need someone that gets me, you know? I have clients that when I share about how disempowered a man in relationship, especially, and even if we're not working on relationship, that's where we connect. So really the best way to frame it is I work with a lot of people on a lot of different things, but always there's some parallel in our stories. There's a place where we've felt the same pain or maybe experienced the same transition. So we kind of, that's a lot of, will tell me a lot of time, I just really need someone that I feel gets me. And that's a huge part of, I think, my value in many ways. Yeah.
I think it's part of the magic of being a practitioner is notice the people that show up to the table are somehow related to us. Somehow the universe, the invisible architecture figures that all out. So here's what I'm interested in right now. You're a man, and this is not quite honestly a common universe, around eating psychology for a man to dive into. I personally feel that we need more men in this universe who are doing this kind of work. How is that for you? How is that for you being a guy in a field when it comes to our relationship with food and body? Like, understand you're working with health as well, but you're working with it from a non-traditional perspective as a male. Like, what's that like for you?
Good question. I think it's great for me. It makes me, right? So that's valuable in the world of business. It is amazing because as well, I really have a passion for men doing some healing around food and body and just health in general. I believe that we will have a better world if everyone, men, women, children, but men, I'm a man, right? So I'm into men and I see what we do to ourselves. So I believe that we'll have a better world if men take care of not just their body, but their mind and their emotions. Doing that. Frankly, I really don't care that much that it's a female-dominated industry. The only time it comes into question is like when I was looking at different programs. I was like, these are really marketed towards women. And it helped me with working with men. Your training certainly did. There's no question about that. So, it's interesting. I draw in female clients that understand, whether they understand it consciously or not, they want some healthy, empowered masculine presence in their life. And I love serving in that way. I love that I get to be that for women. And then there's men, frankly, they don't want to talk to a nutritionist who's been 120 pounds their whole life. They want to talk to a guy who's had their challenges too and who can relate. Great advantage. There's a disadvantage because maybe my pool's a little smaller. A lot more women who are into the field of health and nutrition and holistic health and development. So there's some challenges to it, but there's some great, amazing benefits, and I lean into those as much as I can.
Yeah, and it just goes to show you that there's a client base, I think, for everyone, whether you're male, female, whatever age group you're in, whatever the niche is. So much of it is just identifying for ourselves, okay, here's who I am, here's what I'm about. Right. And here's who I like to talk to. And I like your response, essentially when you said, it's fine with me if I'm a guy in a field that's dominated by the feminine. You didn't use those terms, but what I heard was it's like that doesn't get in my way. Whoever wants to come to the table can. But I still think it's fascinating because these days it seems, and Joe, I'm going to just put this out and you tell me what you think about what I'm about to say. These days it seems like it's just more okay, or it's more fashionable for women to say, I want to work with women and I want to help empower women. And I love hearing that. I don't hear as much, I'm a guy and I love helping empower men. It's almost as if it's I don't know, it's not as cool to say that, or I just don't hear it as often. And when I hear it, I think, oh, thank you. Because men need that. Men need role models. Men need men empowering other men. And men who get them, there's a something special that happens for me as a man when I get that, or when I'm able to provide that for someone. So just your thoughts about all
that. Wow, man. Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Why don't you throw a big one at me? Let's see. So, yeah, I think I'm a little, oh, thank you, Jamie. I love men too. I love women as well. But, I think I'm a little insulated. I spend my time with men who want to grow as men and who want the universe and who do that in connection with everyone, men, women, children. At times, I don't feel like it's in the mainstream world, in our mainstream culture. You're right. It's not as popular. Danger to it. There's a danger of sticking your head out and saying, I want to empower men. Because how many people, especially, I'll just say it, especially as a middle class, almost middle-aged white man, it's like, how many people want to hear that? You want to empower these, you want to empower people who have all the power, right? So it's a little out there and say that. But at the same time, I think our world's pretty dangerous without us empowering other men heal, without us helping. If men are the people in power, right? Don't we have to figure out how to be our most whole and loving and empowered and bold selves to then go transfer some of that power back to others, right? So that's where I start going with it. And at the same time, I think that there's a little bit more of a sisterhood. And I think women compete in their own ways. They're hardwired to do it, and I think they're very much cultured to do it. But I think in my experience, it seems to be easier for them to even admit that they have challenges. So it's also easier for them to say, well, I want to help you. The biggest problem is I thought of just going, hey, I'm just a coach for men. My fear is not enough men can admit they need help for me to succeed there. Now, that's not true, but that's what comes up. So I think that's part of it. I think an intentional 17-way street here that we're talking about. But you say that.
Yeah. So it's just great answer, great words, great way to really frame all that, because I think it is pretty complex. And I think we do need to empower the men of the world, whether those men are empowered or not, because empowered doesn't mean giving them a bigger stick. It means helping enlighten each other and hearten each other and help each other be better men. There's certain things, it seems to me, as I've been in this world for 50 plus years, there are certain things that only a woman could teach a woman. And there's certain things that only a man could teach a man. It's okay, that's just sort of the way it works. Can women teach men things? Of course. Can men teach women things? Of course. And there's an interesting special something when women huddle up with women and when men huddle up with men. And I think, Joe, from the beginning, I think of my development as a male, and oftentimes when males get together, what are we doing? We're either competing, we're playing sports, we're kind of beating up on each other or telling dumb jokes. And we don't always learn how to move as a conscious tribe, and that's really the work that I hear you doing, is you're helping men step into a higher place, whether it's with their body, whether it's with food, whether it's around business or their relationships or their relationship with themselves. I hear you getting down under.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, let's do the real work. Not just get around and ball and
throw football and
drink beer and joke around, but let's get out there and really change. the world. If we have power, let's be more whole individuals so we can make that happen. That's what I think.
So, Joe, something interesting, something surprising that I've learned just being a practitioner and learning on the job that I wasn't quite expecting.
So something that I've learned being a practitioner that I wasn't expecting. Yeah, I've done a lot of personal development. I've done a lot of challenging myself to grow, done a lot of inner work. I've done a lot of work on how I relate to a relationship and women and family. Has, I want to say, sharpened me or challenged me or made me grow more heading to start my own business or other people. I never thought that it would be such a experience. It really is challenging and amazing and exciting and hard and wonderful, and like everything I could want from life shows up in this practice building. I'm a couple years in, and I'm now doing pretty well, but it's a hard road and it's a lot of work. And I guess what's surprising is I didn't see a entrepreneurial journey as a powerful personal growth, transformative process, but whoa, is it ever. Wow. Yeah.
I really appreciate you framing it like that. You know, so much of the time when various coaching programs are promoting themselves, it's this kind of big splash, you know, and you're going to be super successful and this is so cool and so easy. And, you know, it is for the small handful of people that it is. But it's always a journey and it's always a growth process. And we will go through the fire, you know, we will learn as business people. That's as much of a spiritual path as anything could be a spiritual path in my experience. So good for you for actually using it as grist for the mill and something you can grow from, because to me, that's what empowers us. And it doesn't surprise me that you can say, wow, you know, and it's only been 2 years, which is short time to build a business. Really is. That, okay, I'm starting to see some good results. That's pretty darn good, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. And you know, and one of this is a lot of these trainings, you know, promote, hey, just take this training, it'll be so easy. There's more work, right? There's more development work. I totally advocate for people realizing it's kind of like, hey, you go and get a degree, you don't automatically have a powerful business in that field. You don't have a powerful career in that field. You got to build it, and you got to time into building it. It's no different than, and I do like that, you know, the promotion from, I frame it as like, oh, you just get this certificate and all of a sudden you're in business. Like, there's a lot more to it. So anyone who's listening out there, that's what I would say is, you know, there's a lot more work to do. You need the knowledge, you need the skill base, but that's just the jumping on, it's the launch pad. And Institute for Psychology of Eating gives a powerful, beautiful launch pad, but there's a lot more to do.
Yeah, there is. You know, thanks for saying that. And it's like any profession, you know, you graduate from medical school as a doctor, for goodness sakes, and you got to work. You want to build a private practice? That is work. You know, I have a lot of friends in the medical profession, and they oftentimes struggle at the beginning to build the kind of practice that they want to build with the kind of clients they want to see, practicing the kind of medicine they want to practice. But there's a beauty to that also, because when you want to do good, original, and sometimes a little bit more radical work in this world, we're stepping out to the leading edge where things are a little bit new. We're in new turf and new territory. So I think it takes a little bit of trust and a little bit of faith, a little bit of courage. What do you think?
Not a little bit. Like, it takes loads of trust in yourself, trust in the support system you have around you, trust in the universe to if you go out there and you put in the effort coming from a place of love and for the world, and people will find their way to succeed. There's a lot of moments of trust, and there's even bigger moments of courage that need to be displayed. So, I love it because there's a lot that we do to create struggle in our lives as human beings. And I consider something like this a worthy struggle. Channel my energy into something that helps people and gives me the lifestyle that I love. So it's worth it.
Well said, my friend. Hey, tell people how we can get in touch with you.
Oh, great. Well, if you want to get in touch with me, you can go to my website, dropthearmor.com.
Woo!
American Way, ARMOR. Don't ask me to spell the whole thing. Not very academic here. Or you can email me at joe@dropthearmor.com. And when I find this, throw a little link in there or something. Anyway.
Joe, thank you so much for this conversation. I just want to say, you and I have gotten to interact in a bunch of different ways and in a bunch of different settings, and I just feel so good that you're part of the male tribe that I feel like I belong to and that I relate to in this world of men who are just trying to leave this world a better place, and that's their kind of guiding light and their guiding star, and we're doing our best to figure that out. So I just want to say good for you, and thanks for doing the work that you're doing.
Thank you. And the gratitude I have for the body of work that you've put out and what you continue doing for my life, which has had a ripple effect and will continue for decades to have a ripple effect into helping other people. So I don't even have the words. Thank you, Marc.
Thanks, my friend. Much appreciated. And for anybody else tuning in, if you're interested in the training, reach out to us for the Eating Psychology Coach Certification Training. Enrollment's in full swing. info@psychologyofeating.com. We'll answer your question by email. We'll set you up with a phone call with one of our enrollment people. We'll just inform you about the program. We're not going to hard sell you. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks, Facebook friends. Thanks once again, Joe. Great to talk. Take care, everybody.
Bye.